Yeah, once again. What happened here? It went again live without me meaning for it to go live, but alright. Let's do it. Yo. Frankie, what's up, man? Oh, I thought I had a few minutes. As it turns out, I don't, so let's just go for it. Alright. Hang on. Let's see. Alright, wow. Okay, I've got a cup of tea. That's pretty good. How's your weekend going, Frankie? What's up, good people? What's up? You know what? I wanted to have a few minutes, but here I am. Okay, that's odd. It happens every now and then that I set it for a few minutes from now, but then it goes live immediately. You doing well? Good, that's great. A few other people here, how you doing? How's your weekend coming along? So, if there's an incoming missile alert, I'll have to say goodbye, but I might keep it running. I don't know. Maybe not. Mine has been pretty darn good. We were up, I don't know, what was it, 3 a.m. With an incoming missile alert, but then it was a different part of Jerusalem. So it's in a war. That's how I'm doing, and it's difficult and it's challenging to say the least. Some people have it better, some people have it worse. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. Hey, E-Dog is here. How you doing, man? How are you? Okay. So, Papa Nick said you going for the yeshiva bacher look with the white button-down shirt, right? I did an AI thing on Friday. Pizza falling from the sky, manatastic, indeed. It's said that the manna had the taste of every flavor you wanted, basically, which is an interesting thing. How you doing, E-Dog? How's your weekend coming along? And all you good people out there, pardon me, how is your weekend coming along? Oh, it's a new week. It's a new week. Hopefully, an end to this war. People are saying that people are saying that these days, the last, I don't know how many years, Israel has not decisively won a war. People are saying that maybe that's the way it ought to go, where there is no decisive victory, there is no surrender of the other side. I don't know. What do you people say? Should there be a decisive victory? Should it be a literal surrender, a white flag going up from whether it's the terrorist groups around here or whether it's the Iranian regime? I'm planting my tomato plants, says E-Dog, in my new cloth fabric grow bags. That's great. I don't think I've ever grown tomatoes. Nope, I haven't. They breathe better than the plastic. Well, if it's cloth fabric, I suppose it does breathe, unlike plastic, which doesn't. Hey, Dev Coffee is here. Good to see you too. Shai Milman is back here. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Very good to see you. One Door 3 says HN. Hey, One Door 3. How you doing? How you doing? Dev Coffee said, if you don't stop making these, I'm pressing charges, right, with the AIs. Burning 47, good to see you again. I have tomato plants, pumpkins, zucchinis, cucumbers, all planted and more. Now, people who grow things, do you do it according to season? I mean, I know that I have a couple of trees out here in the yard, in the little yard I have here. And obviously, with a tree, it does go according to season. But do you use different soil? Is it different? I mean, do you do it according to the season, like agriculturally? E-Dog says the whole world should be making material from cloth, hemp, and linen, like the Egyptians and how God wanted it. So what are you basing that on how God wanted it? I'm curious. E-Dog says, continues, you can make insulation from hemp, also plastic. Hemp has so many uses. It's such a shame that hemp and the cannabis plant at large got such a bad rap. From what I've gathered, it was because of the tobacco industry in the early 20th century that ran a smear campaign or something like that. Hey, Robert is here. Shalom Achi, he says. Oh. Okay, wow. I've had my hair up for a long time today. I'm gonna let it down. There we go. Burning says, I use the last frost. Start them inside under a light and then transplant outside. So is it a specific light that benefits a specific type of plant? Frankie says, well, we know linen has a frequency of 5,000 hertz, very healing to the body. What do you mean that a linen has a frequency? I don't know what that means. Could you elaborate on that? I'm curious. There's no profit in it, says E-Dog. Well, no, I'm assuming that you're growing it just for personal use. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're talking about hemp? You're talking about the cannabis plant? What are you talking about? Your tomatoes or the cannabis plant? Everybody hit like, says Robert. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, let's continue here. So Sativo the Grail said about the last live stream, superstition, divination are sins. The stars in the heavens shouldn't be used to manipulate outcomes, consciousness, and desires. Using divination to wage wars is a terrible idea. What goes around comes around. Here in Geneva, he says, or she, it's been 18 years since the moon has been so thin. I'll try to photograph it if I can find a lens. Now, I don't recall saying anything about divination specifically, or about waging wars using divination. Now, there is this idea, I mean, people know the Hebrew phrase mazal tov or mazel tov. Mazel tov literally associates itself, right? The word mazal in that sense refers to the heavens, to the stars, to the signs. It's mazal tov v'siman tov, right? A good sign and a good star, or a good sign and a good omen. Now, here's what I told him. I told him I don't recall saying anything about divination. Hebrew astrology does have its place, I said, but free will is paramount. No matter what the skies say, that has always been the case. Even if someone is born under a bad sign, as they say, their way is not set by the heavens, which is true. It's like, sure, if you take into account your specific birth chart and the way that the stars were aligned when you were born, or the way the stars are aligned when you're going through a specific experience or going for a specific endeavor. We know that, for instance, there are certain months and times during the year where it's more beneficial to do this, that, or the other. But at no point does it surpass the individual and their own volition, right? Their own free will. Meaning, even if you are born under, let's say, the star of Mars, well, star, the sign of Mars, it doesn't necessarily mean that you would be bloodlusting or a warlike creature. But it might influence your proclivities. It might influence your being, let's say, in some way, and what you are attracted to. But again, this doesn't mean that you need to set anything by the stars. I think it means that if you do take Hebrew astrology into account, sure, you could go with it. It can align with certain things, and you could. But to divine, as Sativo said, with superstition, divination are sins, right? To have that superstition, as he or she says, and to sin in that way, to miss the mark, I think it would be if you set everything up by the stars. And if you decide that the stars are the ones who rule your fate, as it were, that might be indeed a sin, missing the mark. I'm not sure. Hey, Luke Miller is here. Shalom, my friend. How are you? I'm doing well, thank God. How are you? Robert says, I just read in Numbers when God put the spirit of prophecy on the elders of Israel. Yeah, the first Sanhedrin, right? The first 70 elders, the first Sanhedrin. E-Dog says, can you please explain how the human soul hovered above the head, but not inside your body, please? I'm not sure what you mean. The soul has, it's a nuanced thing. The soul has different levels, right? They are better known as Nanachi, which is an acronym of Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. The Nefesh, the lower part, the life force, is associated with the blood. The Ruach, or spirit, is associated with the heart. The Neshama, more soul, is associated with the mind and the brain. And the Chaya and Yechida are two attributes of the soul that exist sort of as an aura outside of you, something you can take into yourself as time progresses. And it's said that you gain the ability, the capacity to acquire the nefesh at 13 or 12, right? And when you come of age, male and female, masculine, feminine, boy, girl, respectively. The ruach when you're 20, and the neshama, I think, when you're 40, when you enter your fifth decade. I think that's how it goes. But just because you have the potential, the capacity to acquire that part of a soul, let's say, it means that you have the potential. You still need to act on it and actualize it. Also, there is the sub levels, right? You have a nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida of the nefesh, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida of the ruach, right? It's levels within levels. So, can you please explain how the human soul hovered above the head? I'm not sure what you mean. Did I mention anything like that, E-Dog? Please remind me, because I'm drawing a blank on when I said something like that. Robert said, Joshua asked Moses to stop them. Moses said, oh, all of Israel had the Spirit of God on them. Yes, the two people, Eldad and Medad, were inside of the camp. The other 68 elders were outside of the camp where they were supposed to be, around Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting. And when Eldad and Medad were not with the rest of the elders, Joshua said, Adoni Moshe Klaem, my master Moses, right, put them, like, imprison them. There are different interpretations of what that word means, but generally speaking, it means do something. And Moses said, are you jealous on my account? Would it be that all of Israel, right, would be prophets, that God would put his spirit upon them? And that's indeed something that will happen. God will pour his spirit upon all flesh. That's what it says in the book of Yoel. Hey, no fucking way is here. Hi, what's up, man? Somebody donate to this man 1,000. Yes, well, like I said, I still have I still need to take care of the tax thing, but about $700 or $800 were in the last live streams were garnered and gathered by you good people who were donating. Yes, you said something like that. Well, something like that is a little too vague, E-Dog. What exactly was it? I'd like to know. Raul is here. Hey, Raul. There is one Baba in India who looks exactly like you. He became mad. Well, I'm not a Baba by any means, so, I mean, I don't know if I'm mad or not. Some parts of me probably are. Luke Miller says, have bought a book on biblical Hebrew, a lot more consonants to learn, but sounds better. Well, what do you mean, a book on biblical Hebrew and a lot more consonants? I'm curious what you mean. Hey, Never Under Pressure is back here. Good Saturday afternoon, Big Daddy. Shalom, brother. Hello to you. Well, it's Saturday night here. It's after 10 p.m. Very happy to see you alive and well, says RDR. Good to see you. Very good to see you. Wait, you know what? I'll put the laptop here. Yeah, that's better. Hey, Heryund says Jesus loves you. I hope you accept him as your Lord and Savior. Jesus Christ is the living God. Well, that's where me and followers of Jesus differ. I don't consider him a living God, not a Lord, not a Savior, nothing of the sort, but thank you for the sentiment. I appreciate it. Burning says, from Walmart, there is a dedicated grow light with a changing light. Blue is supposed to be for vegetative growth, red for flowering. Some are just purple, red, and blue. Dug a hole and filled it with good soil. Well, that's great. So yeah, I understood that people grow things under certain lights, but red for flowering, blue for vegetation growth. Interesting. Hey, SFH is back here. He said hi. Hello. Luke says, like a book on how to teach yourself Hebrew, there is two dalits, for example, dalet and dalet. Yes, there's a dalet with a mapik, right, with a dagesh, and a dalet without a dagesh. Hippo Dippo, nice to see you, man. Do you view Jesus as a prophet at least? A potential prophet, but I don't know if any prophecies that he actually prophesied. And if he did, and the spirit of prophecy was on him, then he is indeed a prophet. Though he is not considered traditionally to be a Hebrew prophet according to our tradition, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't. Frankie says, we should wear linen because its purported vibrational frequency of around 5,000 hertz, as claimed in holistic studies attributed to Dr. Heidi Yellen. Look at that. Now, what does that mean, that a fabric has a vibrational frequency of 5,000 hertz? Do you know of other fabrics, right, or types of... Do you know of other fabrics and their frequencies? I'm curious, and I've never heard that. I've never heard of a fabric having a frequency, although everything is always in motion, right? Everything is always moving and vibrating. Egon says, oh, hey, you're alive, thank God. Yes, indeed, alive and well for now. Kana, hi, Kana. Your thoughts on Bibi Netanyahu representing your people, that he needs to go. He's served the Israeli people, for better or worse, for many years. It is time for him to vacate his throne and give it to someone else. And I don't know what will be. I do know that after 20 years approximately of not voting, I will be voting in the next election, even though I consider politics to be a dirty, dirty game and I don't want to be a part of it. He needs to go. So I don't know who I'll be voting for. I don't know what the platform is. I don't know what parties will be running or I don't know what, but I will be voting in the next election. So we'll see. Crystals too. William Perry. Hey, William. Yes, crystals as well. I know that crystals do have a vibration. Wool, says Frankie. Okay. So yeah, so fabrics and minerals. I mean, I knew minerals have a vibration, yeah, and I knew that everything, technically speaking, is vibrating with the different atoms, right, that it's comprised of. But I didn't know that fabric specifically is said, something like linen, to have 5,000 hertz. Wool also carries 5,000 hertz. Interesting. IC says, I recently visited Jerusalem and it was so beautiful. Which part are you in? I'm in the southeast of Jerusalem. Internet Essentials says, is it true that there are land sites over there in Israel that have been destroyed? Salutes from Miami, Florida. What is your experience? What do you mean? Are you talking about now with the recent attacks from Iran and Lebanon, or are you talking about throughout the generations? Because this country, this city has been conquered and reconquered and liberated and retaken over and over again. So obviously there are places that have been destroyed. But right now, no. Most of what shows up from what I know from Iran is, well, it's shot down and intercepted by the different missile systems we have in place here for such things, right? Anti-missile missiles. And no, nothing has been destroyed as far as I know. There have been a few direct hits, but I don't know. You know, what I read is the news, and the news is propaganda, right? The news is what they tell me to hear. The news is what they tell me and how they try to condition my thinking. So I can't know if things are true or not. But from what I know, most of what is happening is that things are being intercepted and fragments are indeed falling. Sometimes people are killed, not as many as people have thought. And I know people are saying that Tel Aviv is destroyed, and that's a bunch of crap. I don't think it's destroyed, though I haven't been there very recently. I was there a couple of weeks ago. Or no, not a couple, maybe a month ago, but that was before this whole thing with Iran started. So is it true that land sites have been destroyed? Possibly. I don't think so, but it's possible. Burning says, will there be a king of Israel? There ought to be, but as I've always said and maintained, we can transcend the kingship, much like we can transcend the need for a temple, transcend the ritual worship of old, and introduce a new phase and a new type of Israel, right, where we renew our days as of old in the sense of going back to the Edenic way of thinking and the Edenic way of being. But I don't know what will be. Hey, a super chat came in. Hey, JP, good to see you again, man. Very good to see you. I heard you say that a Nazarite cannot eat from the fruit of the vine, but they can drink alcohol. Correct. Do you believe? Oh wait, I'll mute my phone. Hang on a sec. Okay. Do you believe that Samson was allowed to drink alcohol because back then alcohol was made from the fruit of the vine? So if it was made from the fruit of the vine, then presumably no, he was not allowed to drink alcohol. But I think that beer was around, and that's made of barley or wheat, as far as I know, without any grapes. That's something that he could have been drinking. I know that there is blueberry wine, and there is pomegranate wine, and there are other types of, let's say, spirits that can be made from different types of vegetables or berries. So I have no idea. But would it be allowed? He's a Nazarite, so presumably no. But I can't know for sure, depending on what it is that he was drinking. I really don't know. Xavier says, are Zionists focused on the Third Temple and Greater Israel? No, I think Zionism at large is going back to our ancestral home. I know some people are into the Third Temple very heavily. I'm not one of them. Some people are into the Greater Israel heavily. I'm not one of them. But no, I think the Zionist focus is of having the people of Israel return to the land of Israel. That's the focus. The temple, if it comes, then it comes, and may it come from a place of peace and love and understanding and embracing each other, right? Because the third temple is supposed to be a house of worship and love and prayer for all humanity, for all the nations. Fo3 says, Solomon was described as white and ruddy, which means to blush. Only whites are known for blushing. All right, I'm not sure what you mean. Your kind is Canaanite. I'm not sure what you mean, Fo. I really don't know what you mean. To be described as white and ruddy. Well, first of all, could you give me a chapter and verse, or book chapter and verse? Because I'm not sure what you mean. Because there are other. Where was he described as such? I'm not sure. Craig, hey Craig Cook, go for a stroll with the camera and live stream. I just might do that, but not right now. Okay, let's continue. IC says Southeast Jerusalem is Palestine, right? Not being political, just remember there was an East-West division. Well, no, not really. Palestine, I mean, the PLO, Arafat, later, right, they were given the opportunity to have East Jerusalem as their capital, along with a lot of the West Bank of the Jordan and all of Gaza, or nearly all of Gaza, and they said no, they rejected that outright, along with about a dozen other peace agreements and accords that were rejected by them. But no, the place where I am at for a very long time was no man's land, and then it was populated by Israel sometime after 1967. Your DNA shows up as Canaanite, says Foe. Really? Have you done my DNA test? Do you have any idea what you're talking about? I haven't done a DNA test, but let's say for the sake of argument that I am a Canaanite by DNA. I am literally Jewish from biology and from upbringing and the covenant that I have with the Most High God. So the DNA doesn't mean anything in this context. Sorry. Burning says, what do you think about Hasidic Jews, and have you seen Nick Shirley's video where they have 12 kids? What's your opinion of that? Well, first of all, my opinion of Hasidic Jews depends wholly on the Hasidic sect to which they are associated with, or with which they are associated. Because some of them are ones that I've studied a little bit from, like Chabad, Breslev, and others are, let's say, very anti-Zionist and very anti-Israel, and so I have less to do with them, of course. Hasidism, modern-day Hasidism, has many amazing and positive attributes, but some of them are not so good. So my general thought about Hasidic Jews is that if they are going in the ways of Hasidism, that there's a lot there that I could learn from, and a lot there that I indeed could be influenced by for the better. But I don't speak in absolutes. So those are my thoughts. I have not seen Nick Shirley's video. As for having 12 kids, if you can afford to feed 12 kids and raise them properly, have 12 kids. That's what I'm saying. But if you have 12 kids and you are then dependent on the state or dependent on charity and you don't have enough time and attention to give to your children, maybe don't do that. I don't know what to say. Frankie says cotton is 100 hertz, the same as the human body. So wait, the human body is of a vibration of 100 hertz at all times? This is a constant? I would think that, for instance, in prayer or in meditation or in music, right, listening or playing, that the vibrations would change. But I might be wrong. Xavier says, and what happens to the people already there in Israel? Well, what do you mean, people already there? I'm of the opinion that there were many people here living throughout the years, all the time. And if those people, right, for hundreds of years, not just the Hebrew people, and if they want to stay here in peace and live side by side with the Hebrew people, they should be able to do that. JP continues. Oh, he didn't continue? No? Okay, no, he didn't continue. Cool. Xavier says bombed. What do you mean bombed? I don't quite understand what you're talking about. There's an ongoing war here, inside and outside. So I don't know what you mean by bombed. Love for humanity, says the overworked student. Indeed, love for humanity, that's what it comes down to. Now, we are not quite there yet. We are not quite ready, it seems, to all stand in a circle, embrace each other, and, and sing Kumbaya. So I don't know what to tell you. JP continues, and he says in the super chat, the fruit of the righteous, Proverbs 11:30, the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he that winneth souls is wise. What is the fruit of the righteous, and how does someone win a soul? First of all, let's check that out in Hebrew. Mishlei Yud Aleph Lamed. Mishlei Yud Aleph Lamed. Pri tzadik etz chayim velokeach nefashot chacham. Okay, so here's what without looking into any commentary, just off the top of my head, I would think that Pri tzadik etz chayim, meaning that if you are somebody who is righteous and going in a good way, then the fruit, right? It could be your progeny, or it could be your doings and dealings and the way that you live and comport yourself in the world. that could be a tree of life, meaning the way that you act, the fruit of your labors can be a tree of life, something that we can all benefit from, something that affects those around you, something that affects you, and that brings life into creation. Velokeach nefashot chacham, to take a soul is wise. I don't know what that means. I will look into the commentary here very quickly on lokeach nefashot chacham. Hang on a second. Let's see. Lokeach nefashot chacham. So the Targum Metzudot says, okay, so yes, so the Targum Metzudot, which is a commentary, says, hold on a second, I'll go back to what you said, JP. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, pretty much the way that I said it, that the things that you do bring life into creation and benefit creation. And he that winneth souls is wise, meaning the commentary that I just read, one single commentary that I just looked at right now from the Mitzudot, says that to winneth souls means to take people from a bad place to a good place, basically, and that's wisdom. So the fruit of the righteous, how does someone win a soul? It's by your doing, right? It's by the things that you do and the way that you behave. That is your fruit, right? Just like a tree bears fruit. If you plant yourself in a good place and you grow yourself properly, then your fruit will be able to bring life to yourself and to others. Velokeach nefashot chacham, that winneth souls is wise. Winneth is not a precise translation here. It's takes. Lokeach is to take. So to take a soul is wise, I think, much like in the book of Ecclesiastes, when he says that there was a foolish old king and there was a young wise boy, and that the old king, right, was not, let's put it this way, that it's good to be a small boy that is wise than an old king that is a fool. And something like that, where it's the things that you do and the way that you behave that allow you, whether it's actively or passively engaging with the world, which allows you to take people, situations, and from a bad place to a good place, so to speak. That's what I would say off the top of my head, JP. But what do you good people think? What does it mean? I'm not sure. Raul says, can you tell whose fault is in the ongoing war in the Middle East as a neutral person? Here you go. Well, I don't know that I'm neutral. I was born and raised in Israel. I was raised in Jerusalem. I can't say that I'm neutral with a straight face. I try to take things on a case-by-case basis, and I do try to see things not from only one narrative or point of view, but to take other things into account. I think that would make it more neutral, but to call me neutral would be, I don't know if that would be correct. But who's at fault? Both parties are at fault. Because Israel did things that are wrong, and the terrorist organizations are doing things that are wrong. So it's both sides of this conflict that are at fault. That's what I would say. Why do people hate Jewish so much, asks Paul. Good question, you'll have to ask them. I mean, I've spoken of this in the past, but I don't know if anything I have to say is of any actual bearing on the situation or any kind of, Let's see. Let's continue. Let's go down, down, down. A lot of people here in the chat. I'm sorry that I'll answer a question and I'll just go down. So I'm sorry if I miss your question. Incidentally, if I do miss your thing in the chat, leave a comment because I answer every single, or address, what's to answer? I address every single comment that is addressed to me. So if I don't get to your thingy in the chat, be it an insult or be it a piece of encouragement or a question or a whatnot, a tidbit, please leave a comment and I will get to it. Always good to see you, says oh so very ordinary, and it's good to be seen, and it's good to see you, oh so very ordinary. Who are prophets came after Moses, says I am. I mean, many prophets came after Moses. While he is known as the father of prophets, there were many before him and many after him. So there are many prophets who came after Moses, Joshua being the one that immediately came after him. Paul says, if this isn't taking about Jesus Christ the Messiah, who is it talking about? Well, I'm assuming you brought some sort of a verse before that or something. I don't know. I'm sorry. Hey, Dust is here. Hey, Dust, Nazarite, what's up, big dog? It's all good. What's up with you? What's up with you? Let's see. Okay, Isaiah 53. Okay, once again, Christians and followers of Jesus always bring up Isaiah 53. Many times they bring it out of context. Somewhere over here.
Can I?
Yeah, you can take them. Craig, hey, Craig is here. Hi, Craig Cook. The Palestinian people have blood ties going back to Abraham. They're the same people farming the lands for thousands of years through Roman, Assyrian, Babylonian, Macedonian reign, says Craig Cook. But listen, that's not exactly true because they call themselves Palestinian because the Romans called this place Palestine. There was never such a people. But, right, there was never such a nation, but there have been people here for hundreds and thousands of years. That much is true. But to say that it's this Palestinian nation is technically, historically, practically incorrect. And if they are some sort of a nation, who was their leader? Who was their king? What was their coin? What were their borders? What was their flag? There's absolutely nothing about this ever written down anytime ever. And the Palestinian identity as we know it now, with the flag and everything, that's the product of the 1960s with its roots in the early 20th century, maybe, right? Like the aughts or maybe the 20s. But no, there was no such thing. As for people saying that there was peace here until 1947, that is false. It's false. There were many pogroms and many attacks of the Arab Muslim population against the Jews. Some people were not very happy. Well, let's put it this way. The leadership of the Muslims and the Arabs here, the leadership was not very happy with people coming in. The Palestinians themselves, if you want to call them that, they sold land to individuals and they sold land, right? Lock, stock, and barrel to organizations. So to say that it's stolen land, occupied land, we're colonialist settlers and all, that is hogwash. That has absolutely zero to do with reality. It really, really doesn't have anything to do with reality. Now, there are some fringe settlements that are illegal, like internationally, right? And that should probably be dismantled, and I am not for them. Those are the places where I'm willing to say, yes, they have a point, right? Now, it probably has some security and strategic significance, but that still doesn't make it right legally. And other things, and I say this many times, a lot of the land that is now the modern-day state of Israel was one of three things, or all of them, right? It was either bought and paid for, or it was taken over as spoils of war that Israel did not start, or the inhabitants of those lands left at the behest of the Muslim Arab leaders of the surrounding nations, who told them, go, leave for a few days, we'll slaughter all the Jews, and you'll be able to come right back. These are the people who have their keys around their necks, right, of the place that they left. Now, there were some parts of Israel where the IDF at the time kicked people out because they were in a war zone. But the majority, from what I've gathered, is one of those three things. They either left of their own accord, or they ran away, or they bought and paid, they sold those lands, right? Or it was simply the spoils of war, right? A war that Israel did not start. J4A says, I understand both sides, both have valid points, and both deserve to live in peace. Amen. That I will agree with. We both have good points. We both deserve to live in peace. And I think that it's not the people. I think it's the leadership on both sides that is making the majority of the horrible mistakes. Right? Israel is not blameless. The establishment, the government, the army is not blameless, nor are, right, the people on the other side. And again, you only need to look to the recent, even the recent history of the last 20 or 30 years. All of the peace agreements, all of the peace accords, all of the plans, right? The peace process that was thwarted time and again by greedy and warmongering, bloodthirsty Palestinian leadership that said no and refused to come back to the negotiation table and said no to every single agreement that was put before them. Now, some people might say, why should they settle? The land is theirs. But it's like, no, the land is not theirs. The land is not theirs. It's not exactly ours either. It belongs to the Creator. But if you are going to say, yes, we want peace, then take it step by step. First you have peace in certain areas, and then it grows, and the radius of peace grows accordingly. So to say no, we want everything, to play this game of all or nothing, is not benefiting anybody in this case. Truly anybody. Okay, we're scrolling down in the chat. Wow, a Jewish Rastafarian says Reasonable. Hey, Reasonable, good to see you. No, I'm not a Rasta, although the Rastas do trace their way of life back to the Nazarite vow, and that's why they grow their dreadlocks. They take a vow. But they worship Rastafari as the second coming of Jesus or as a God incarnate, and that's where we differ. But I do definitely I do definitely sympathize, right, with and identify, if you will, with some of their values. Not the militant Rastas, right, but the peace, love, herb, reggae, roots rock reggae. I'm definitely on board with that. Dust says, "Have a good weekend." You too. Have a good weekend, man. I agree, says J4. It's the governments on both sides, just like in the United States. It's not the people, it's the crazy people in power. Yes, it's the crazy people in power. Let's put it that way. The thing is that it's just such a messed up situation, such a messed up situation. And if I was in a position of power, knowing what they know and having all of the knowledge there in front of me, I don't know what I would do. I really don't. So I don't exactly judge, but I do say that it's not the people, it's the leaders who are causing this, for sure. Bethany is here. Hey, Bethany. No, Jesus, as taught in Christianity, in churchianity, is against Yod He Vav He's commands and statutes. Yeshua, the living Torah, is Hamashiach. Okay. Well, I'm guessing you're reacting to somebody else in the chat. Shai says, I don't know about prophets, but hear a lot of profit nowadays. A lot of I'm assuming he said prophet. Well, look, the spirit of prophecy traditionally was given to children and fools after the destruction or around the destruction of the Second Temple, but it is poised to make a comeback, and it has indeed been making a comeback. The Nazarite ship, said the Rabbi Nazarite David Cohen, is a stepping stone to prophecy. The Nazarites and the prophets are mentioned in the same verse in the book of Amos. Who are prophets still to come, says I am. Is it I am or LM? Let's say LM. Well, I don't know who. People who are, right? Look, it's all according to a person's deeds that the Spirit rests upon them. The spirit of prophecy, the lower and the higher spirit, is there for the taking. It's all about the individual. Or not for the taking, but it's there, right? Sort of permeating throughout creation. So even if we say that during the time of the Second Temple, around the time of the destruction of the Second Temple, the spirit of prophecy was taken away from the children of Israel and given to children and fools, and stayed with the nations, possibly, it's poised to make a comeback, and it will make a comeback, indeed. Paul Rothwell says, all the prophets will come. I would have thought, not Muhammad, though, he's not a prophet. Okay, I don't know if Muhammad is a prophet or not. I know that he's not a prophet traditionally according to the Hebrew faith, but certainly he was a prophet to Islam. What are you drinking on? I have a cup of tea here. Let's see. What did I take? I think I took forest fruit. I have forest fruit here. Craig says, what do flags and borders have to do with anything? I'm not sure if you're referring to what I said or what somebody else in the chat. Based History is here. You have great skin. Do you use any skincare products? Tell me your secrets. Well, I'm 43. My skin is, wrinkling and getting older with age. The only thing I do regularly is shower. And on a daily basis, I moisturize my face. I moisturize the beard, I moisturize the mustache, under the eyes. I basically, put some schmear and just put it all over. Okay. John Doe says, what do you believe? I believe I'm here going live from Jerusalem with this lovely Q&A. That's what I believe. Hey, Bong is here. Shalom chaverim. Oh, so very ordinary says, what does your t-shirt say? My shirt says, I got this from BetterHelp. This is my therapy shirt. That's what it says. I'll turn, can you see the logo in back? Yeah. So I've been back in therapy for just over 3 months, this time doing it online with BetterHelp. And they're not sponsoring me or anything, though I would not say no to a sponsorship by BetterHelp. But I will say, as long as you asked, it has been very, very beneficial. I still have a lot of work to do, but for the past 3 months and a bit, it's been really, really beneficial. I love my therapist. She is amazing and awesome. And if you're watching, hi Tina, because she's a subscriber. Children and fools, you said. Yes, children and fools. Now, Children, literally children, and fools has different interpretations. Some people say it's neurodivergent people. Some people say it's people who are, let's say, chemically imbalanced. I don't know how you want to take it, but yes, children and fools. Yeladim veshotim, that's what it says in, I think it's in the Talmud or maybe the Mishnah. Maybe the Mishnah, I don't recall exactly. JP, with another super chat, asks, I heard a Nazarite cuts his hair before he goes into the temple, and he puts it in a fire under a pot where the lamb is being sacrificed. Is there some type of meaning to this? So yes, it's not before he goes into the temple. There was a special hall, a special room called Lishkat HaNazirim, the chamber of Nazarites. And this chamber is where Nazarites, for a set period of time, from 1 month onward, would, at the time that their vow was completed, right, the days were completed, they would come and fulfill their vow. They would bring a sin offering and a thanks offering and a burnt offering, maybe? Those two for sure. I don't recall whether a burnt offering was offered or not. But yes, you take the hair, you shave it off, you put it under the pot, right, where the fire is, for the Thanksgiving offering. So the meaning, I mean, look, there's obviously a type of meaning. The hair represents the crown. The hair represents for the Nazarite, not for everybody. For usually for people who are not Nazarites, it represents the left side, the left hand, judgment, right, and restriction, right, the hand that is close to you, as opposed to the hand that's always giving of the right hand. The meaning itself, I don't recall it offhand, but let's put it this way. I'll have to get back to you on that. Leave a comment. JP, please leave a comment. I don't want to leave you hanging. So yes, the Nazarite cuts his hair in the courtyard at the chamber of Nazarites, and then he puts it under the fire of the Thanksgiving offering. That much is correct. Is there some type of meaning? Yes, there is a type of meaning, but I don't want to say something that's wrong. I don't want to misinterpret the ritual worship, and I don't have it off the top of my head right now. If ever I did know the meaning behind it, like the esoteric meaning, the deeper meaning, I don't have it off the top of my head. And I don't think that I have indeed learned or studied what the meaning is of the offering of the hair under the Thanksgiving offering, right, under the pot where the lamb is being sacrificed. So I'm not exactly sure how to answer that. My apologies. Okay. God said, brush your hair. Actually, I'm a Nazarite, R. Johnson, and I'm not allowed to use a brush. I'm not allowed to use a comb. I am allowed to use my fingers to separate, and I used to do that. Nowadays, I don't do that as much. But, you know, I mean, some things are really, really Congoed up, as you can maybe tell over here. But sometimes I do still separate. Oh, so very ordinary. How do vegans fill the Passover Seder plate? So I use, instead of a, well, the egg is there, but instead of a piece of meat, well, first of all, I eat, you know, some sort of a vegan thing instead of a lamb. And the Seder plate, I put, instead of an arm, right, instead of the wing or whatever it is, a zroa, I put a piece of burnt tofu. Craig says, you still haven't answered my question about Talmud and Jewish people. I'm sorry, Craig, I didn't see it. Please do it again, because the chat is moving quickly and I'm scrolling down after I answer, so I simply missed it. Plus, I've addressed the Talmud and the Jewish people so many times. Roderick says, they know they aren't the people of the Bible, they aren't the blameless ones of the Ethiopian Bible. I'm not sure what you mean, man. Jews are Jews are Jews. That's the way that I see it. I know a lot of people are attributing the Jewry, the Hebrew faith to other people. You know, they were black, you're all fake, you're all Khazars, you're all... Even though about 50% of modern day Israel and Jewry is Mizrahi, right, from the east, we all originate from here, from Judea, from the kingdom of Judah, from the land of Israel. So even though we were cast out of the land due to our own misdoings and wrongdoings and transgressions, we are all irrevocably Jewish. And even converts, as soon as they break the surface of the ritual pool, of the mikveh, they are indeed part of the Jewish people de facto, right then and there. So there are times when lineage matters. There are times when ancestry matters. But to call somebody a fake Jew, if they are Jewish, is just being racist to some degree. and putting way too much stock in the content of melanin in someone's skin, or their ancestry, or their geographical location. A Jew is a Jew is a Jew. Get your hair color pink, James says. You know, James, I have in the past at some points thought, hey, what if I dyed my hair? But I never have dyed my hair. Maybe I should. But I think my woman dyes her hair enough for the both of us. John says, are you on chemotherapy by chance? No, thank God. I'm not on any kind of chemotherapy. I'm simply on regular therapy. So that's nice. Brian says, if the temple was destroyed in 70 AD with all the sacrifices and no more Levi, nobody said that there's no more Levi. The tribe of Levi exists for sure, not all of us, but the priests and the Levites are definitely here. My tradition is being of the tribe of Levi. So the temple was destroyed and the sacrifices did indeed end, but the tribes of Israel continue. The 10 lost tribes and the tribes of the kingdom of Judah are still here doing their thing. Base says, did you have Riz when you were younger? Well, I met my first girlfriend who became my wife at 16, so I guess it's up to you to tell me. I don't know. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. If we Jewish, where's the money? Says Toe Po Kit. Indeed, where is the money? Where is? Show me the money. Diaper Dennis says Jew, Jew, Jew. Yes, indeed, Diaper Dennis. What kind of diapers? I mean, are you into the adult diapers or the baby-sized diapers? What kind of diapers are you wearing these days? James says, so was my great-grandfather. So wait, I'm sorry. Did I miss something there? I'm not sure. Okay. Tenebris, hey Tenebris, good to see you again. I'm a Levite. The Messiah brings Levite sacrifices back after building third temple. Yes, that's what they say. But who's to say? Time will tell. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it will go down. If there will be an anointed one, if there will be a king, if there will be a temple, it's said that if reality sets itself up in such a way, and there's a lot of love, and there's a lot of mercy, and a lot of grace, and a lot of good vibrations, the temple, the third temple, right, will be a temple of worship and of love and of prayer for all humanity, for all nations, God willing. Are you a Christian Jew? No, Paul, I'm not a Christian Jew. I'm not a Messianic Jew. Shags says, is cannabis forbidden in all branches of the faith? Sorry if you answered this already. No, cannabis is not forbidden according to all branches. According to some branches, it is forbidden. According to most people, I would say, it's not forbidden. Now, what is forbidden, if that, is to be a pothead that does not contribute, that takes no responsibility, and that simply smokes weed to escape. Now, I have nothing against recreational use. I just think that the Torah would draw the line and say, like I say a lot, right, that the bulk of your psychedelic experiences should come from within and not from without. Meaning that there's nothing wrong with supplementing your spiritual life with a mushroom, or with herb, or with acid, or DMT, whatever the case may be. But you do it in measure, you honor the plant, you honor the substance, you have your set and setting properly in place, you use caution, you use discernment, and you don't let it take over your life. You don't forsake your responsibilities. You don't become a couch potato who does nothing. You take care of your mind, your body, your spirit, and if you choose to supplement that life you're living with some sort of herb or mushroom or synthetic substance, then just do it carefully and do it forthrightly and know what you're getting into and do your research, and there should not be a problem there. Also, specifically with cannabis, it's said that the knebosim, the biblical knebosim, is cannabis, which was one of the components of the incense of the temple and one of the components of the anointing oil that Moses made. But it's a disputed thing. Do you prefer crispy or soft bacon, says Silly Sassy Pants. Well, I've never had bacon, and I'm a vegan, so I'm not going to have it now. So I think I would prefer it crispy. I've heard good things about crispy bacon. But I have no preference since I've never tasted bacon. Rob says, so there might be no temple. Correct, there might be no temple. I go back to Eden. I go back to Eden. In Eden, there was no religion. In Eden, there was no Israel and nations. In Eden, there was no temple. There was no king. There was no anointed one. There was just humanity, nature, and the divine revelation. That was the original plan. That was the original intent. And that is where we are headed. That's where we're headed. That's what I'm saying. Diaper Dennis says, get off drugs. Well, I'm not on drugs, so I have no problem getting off drugs. But thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it. I don't smoke the pot joints, says Kevin. Well, good for you. It's not for everybody, right? I mean, look, some people can handle cannabis and they are everyday smokers and they lead a proper life, and they are high-functioning stoners, and I have nothing against that. And some people, it really, guys, a bit more quiet. Dude, don't condition what I'm saying on him. Don't condition what I'm saying on him. Just keep it a bit quieter if you can. So yeah, some people say that cannabis is outright against the Torah, and they do have something, right? They do have an anchor in Torah, in the commandments, right? We are supposed to be careful with what you do. You are supposed to be careful with what you put into your body. You are supposed to be careful with what you put into your mind. And in that sense, they are correct. But I do know plenty of people who smoke regularly and who lead, honest lives, high-functioning people with proper jobs, take care of their families, a pillar of the community, what have you, Craig says, what is the Talmud? The Talmud is an interpretation of the Mishnah, which is the oral traditions that were written down. The oral traditions were never meant to be written down, but they were written down around the destruction of the Second Temple for fear that all will be lost. The Talmud arrived and was codified, or not codified, it was, around the 3rd century of the Common Era. So that's where it came from. The thing is that the teachings were around for a very long time before that, and they have different disputes, and they have different ideas on what constitutes halacha, rabbinic law. The Mishnah and the Talmud is primarily where rabbinic law, halacha, is derived from. Where did it come from? It came from the teachings of Babylon and from Jerusalem. Is it something all Jewish people believe in? No, it isn't. There are, for instance, the Karaites that believe in the 5 books of Moses, but not in the Mishnah and not in the Talmud, and they have their own tradition and they have their own law, but it's not rabbinic law in the sense of Orthodox Judaism, right? What became Orthodox Judaism. So that's what that is, basically. Ken says, I enjoy your channel, new subscriber here. Hey, Ken, it's good to see you. I appreciate the vote of confidence with the subscribing. Let's continue scrolling down. Based History says, bro had to discipline his kids, W. What? What do you mean? I don't know if you're talking about me or someone else. But either way, Based History, yes, if you have kids that you need to raise, if you have kids that you need to discipline, if you have kids and you want to be any kind of a father, then don't lose yourself to drugs. Be there for your kids. It doesn't mean you can't partake of anything at any time, necessarily. If you know you're the type of person who gets addicted, if there is a history of mental illness or addiction in your family, then maybe don't partake. But if you know that you can handle it, and you are really true to yourself, and you're honest with yourself, and you know that you can handle certain things, then by all means do. It can be a wonderful supplement to what's already a proper life. But don't lose yourself, right? Don't escape reality. Make the reality the kind of reality you would want to live in. And that's with you, with what you say, with how you behave and what you do. Shabbat Shalom from St. Francis, Kansas. Bethany says, Shabbat Shalom indeed. Well, so it's Shabbat, in the States it's still Shabbos. Do you like Woody Allen movies? You remind me of him, Paul says. Well, I appreciate that. I love his work from the 70s. The current things I haven't seen his movies in a very long time, but I enjoy Love and Death, I enjoy Sleeper, I enjoyed Bananas, I enjoyed Take the Money and Run, and a few others from that era, the 70s primarily. I enjoy him, I enjoy Mel Brooks a lot. So yeah, definitely. Sid Life says, all intoxicating things are haram. I am a sinner, though, and weak. Well, no, that's not exactly true. If that was the case, then wine and alcohol would be outright banned. But we do know that wine, and alcohol for that matter, and, strong drink, as it's known, has a positive and a negative, right? It can be a joyful and elevating thing that can help you connect with other people, make you more sociable, right, and make you more open, free your mind to some degree, if only temporarily. And you can have the other type, which is the drunkenness of being forgetful, of letting go of responsibility, of shirking your duties, and of going, like I've said, like of waking up, at 2 a.m. in a pool of your own sick, and that's no kind of life to lead, not regularly anyway. You can do all that with alcohol too, though, says JT. Yes, exactly. You can do all that with alcohol. It all has to do with discernment and keeping it in measure, right? And for you to keep it in measure, you need to be honest with yourself. Am I the type of person who can drink occasionally, like drink like a gentleman, as they say? Or am I the type of person who will start drinking and continue drinking and use it as an escape and develop cirrhosis of the liver, or I don't know what, you know? How much will the alcohol affect me? How much would it affect my family and my surroundings and the people that I'm with? Will it cause me to screw over my career and turn me into a liar or a mean drunk? And would it cause me to hit people? Will it turn me, will it turn me into, you know what I'm saying? Functioning alcoholic, exactly, yes. Yes, yes, again. Exactly, yes, that's what I'm saying. Still Me is here. Hi again, hope all's well with everyone, as well as can be in such crazy, crazy times. Spartacus says, hi, so I'm Spartacus. That's a good movie. Why have Jews been expelled so many times? So I've addressed this before. It's like we are the outsiders. We've always been the outsiders, not the only ones, of course, but we've been the outsiders. And sometimes it was because of the way we behave, our faith, our ways, our traditions. Sometimes it's something that was forced upon us, or foisted is the word, upon us by those around us. But we were kicked out of so many, well, what is it, at last count, something like 110 countries for different reasons. Kyle says, YouTube live shorts is actually the Twilight Zone. Haha, the types of people on here are wild. Yes, it's true. It's true. The YouTube live shorts is indeed a wild place. I enjoy every now and then scrolling and finding a live, and sometimes I'll engage. Vegan Nazarite. Oh, Shags replied to Vegan Nazarite. If you're here, hey, Vegan Nazarite. So Vegan Nazarite is a Christian Nazarite, and he's almost at the end of going by the weekly Torah portion, Shabbos by Shabbos. I think today, if last time was Nitzavim, today is Vayelech, or maybe today was Nitzavim. Either way, he's really towards the end of the entirety of the Torah. So that's pretty cool. He was saying the cannabis thing is debated, not that it 100% is in the incense. Right, that's what I was saying. That's true. Sid Life says, alcohol put me in the hospital 2 days ago. Ouch! That must have been not good. Don't do that again. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Maria says, keeping alcohol strictly for Shabbat fixed alcohol for me. Right, giving it its proper time and place. That's what I'm saying. Discerning, using caution, and giving things their proper time and place. That can be, right, if you can enjoy it only every now and then, some people can do that and some people cannot. And you need to be honest with yourself about what your vices are, when they cross the line, when you should seek help, right? You should be very, very conscious and aware that these things can destroy your life if you let them in improperly. Not that I'm judging people, right? People have different proclivities. People have different genetic predispositions, right, to different things, and addiction in their family, and things that are hereditary, I don't know what. So there's no judgment on my end. But if you are going to partake of things that, you can call them psychedelic things, or you can call them things that simply change your awareness and your consciousness, even a little, then you should know what you're getting into, ideally. Namaskar, says Mr. Six. When is the next ayahuasca ceremony? So I've been told by a Hebrew shaman that ayahuasca is not the thing to do for the Hebrew man or woman. Because I've inquired about ayahuasca ceremonies. I've never tried DMT, not with ayahuasca or the, 10-minute trip DMT. I'd like to sometime maybe, but I don't want to do it in, let's say, Central or South America, because from what I've gathered, and I might be wrong here, the proper shamanic ceremony of ayahuasca in Central or South America, or wherever it originated, has to do with pagan worship, or what would be considered pagan worship if you're trying to follow the Torah. And so there's a Hebrew shaman that told me that ayahuasca is not recommended for the Hebrew man or woman, and that it's better to experience different rituals and different ceremonies with other substances and not ayahuasca specifically. But I don't know, maybe I will do it at some point. But if I do, I will do it with a Hebrew shaman and not with a South or Central America shaman. But I don't know, maybe I'll never do it. Who knows? I've heard very good things about ayahuasca, indeed. Never done it though. Paul says, I do love the Jews, intelligent people, I'm Christian. Well, no problem with you being Christian. Jews as a population, some are intelligent and some are not. Some have a higher IQ, some have a lower IQ. Some are good people and some are malevolent pieces of crap. You get that in every population, in every society. Then I'll subscribe to your channel, says LM. Thanks, man, I appreciate the vote of confidence. What do you think about crunch wraps, says Taco Bell Wi-Fi. I don't know what crunch wraps are. If it's a type of workout, I enjoy crunches. I don't know what crunch wraps are. If it's a type of food, I've never had it, because, Taco Bell. I've never had Taco Bell. Long hair for men, says Angela. Yes, long hair for men, because Nazarites grow their hair long. Although, before I had the long hair, before I took my vow, I did have long side curls, which is also a type of long hair. Let's continue. Down in the chat. Weed equals hell, says Diaper Dennis. For sure. For some people, it really does equal hell. Because they wake up one morning and they say, oh my God, I've spent so much money. And it's just gotten me high, and I've been escaping reality and neglecting my duties and shirking my responsibilities, and I've been using it. It started off recreationally, but now I'm addicted, because even though weed is not addictive physically, at least to most people, it is addictive mentally, psychologically, can be highly addictive, because it's an amazing, medicinal, wondrous plant, but you need to know how to use it. Too much of a good thing can ruin your life. It really could. Definitely could. The original Jews were colored people, says Sean. Well, I already addressed this earlier in the live stream. Whatever you say, Sean. How does your braids smell like, says Gorek. They don't smell like anything in particular now, but I do shower, shampoo, and condition regularly, so, It doesn't smell like anything right now. But when I do shampoo and condition, I do use essential oils, so for a time after the shower, it smells, what do I have right now? I think right now I have rosemary up there. I'll use peppermint, I'll use rosemary, I'll use lavender, tea tree, I love tea tree as well. But right now they don't smell like anything in particular. Nope. Craig says, you gotta do the drug, you can't let the drug do you. Yes, that's a good way of putting it. That's definitely a good way of putting it, for sure. Johan says, El, the God of Abraham, is an Ugarit God. Just talk about idolatry. Well, look, some names like El or like Elyon were names that were originally in the Canaanite pantheon of polygods, or some other pantheon of gods from this region, but the Hebrews took those names and koshered them, right, and took them into the fold of the tribes and made them kosher, as it were. But the name itself and its root does have, let's say, a Canaanite mythology, Canaanite pantheon origin. So yeah. Apple cider vinegar and baking soda. Yes, I did that for the first 2 or 3 years of growing my locks, of growing the hair wild. I did use baking soda and vinegar. I used to put the baking soda as a shampoo, and then the vinegar, apple cider vinegar, as a conditioner. I did that for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. It took me time to understand the ratios of baking soda and vinegar, right? Because you don't do them together. You do the baking soda with water. So I had to learn the ratios of what's right for my scalp. And then with the apple cider vinegar, you put it in your hair from the mids down, like a conditioner from the mid-lengths down. But that also, you need to figure out the ratios. So like with any hair or skin care, it's trial and error on what it is that fits you. But of course, that also changes with your hormones. It also changes with your diet. It also changes with your mental place and where you're at physically, if you're sick, if you're healthy, if you're well, if you're not. So it's like an ongoing and dynamic thing. I haven't used baking soda and apple cider vinegar in a very long time, but I do recommend it for people if they don't want to go with the industrial shampoo conditioner path. As for me, I use a vegan, right, as a vegan, I use a vegan shampoo and a vegan conditioner, but I very much am in favor of the baking soda apple cider vinegar rinse. That is very, very good. It's very good, definitely. Netanyahu, Nathan Mile, yes, Sid Life. Netanyahu changed his last name. Many people changed their last names. Last names don't mean anything. Last names are a very recent invention. Usually, from in the last few hundred years or so, it became more and more of a thing. The Hebrew faith has no last names, has no surnames. It was, first name, son of last name, first name, son of father's name of the tribe or the house of X. So it doesn't really mean anything to me. Eucalyptus is good too, burning. That's correct. Paul says, does the Bible say it's a shame for a man to have long hair? The Christian Bible says this, not the Hebrew Bible. As for the Hebrew Bible, traditionally, it doesn't say much about the hair. It does say that the Nazarite man or woman grows their hair wild and free, right? Gadel pera se'ar rosho, that the hair should grow wild. But that's because the Nazarite man or woman taking on their vow, the hair takes on a different meaning. For normal people, and by normal I mean people who are not Nazarites, mainstream everyday people who are not Nazarites, the hair represents judgment and limitation and constraint. But for the Nazarite, it represents the middle pillar. It represents the crown. It represents, right? That's why it's called a crown of separation or a crown of consecration, the hair that comes from the highest part of the body. Unlike a king that wears a crown that's external, unlike the priests that are anointed with oil that's external, the crown of a Nazarite man or woman grows from the inside out, from the topmost part of the head, all the way down low as it can go. And that has meaning, right? Samson had locks, says Bethany. Yes, indeed, Samson had locks. That's what they say. It's a Jewish thing to change your name, says Jamil Hussein. Maybe to change your name. Let's put it this way. Some people change their first name or first names if they have several. And some people change their last name. The last name is not a Hebrew thing. The last name is just something that is from the last few hundred years. I don't know, maybe up to 1,000 tops. But last names didn't used to be a thing. And people many times took on a last name according to their geographical location or their vocation, right? Or things of that nature. But it's not a Jewish thing to have a last name. That's something that we've adopted. It is a Jewish thing to change your name if a Kabbalist, let's say, if you go to consult with a Kabbalist and they say that you should change your name, you should add a letter, you should take out a letter, things of that nature, then maybe you should do it. Maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. I've never been at a consultation with a Kabbalist regarding my name. Do you palm roll? No, I don't touch my hair at all, as in manipulate it. I don't touch my hair at all. All I do occasionally, and not in the last few years, is separate. If I'm feeling like it's getting too congoed, I'll separate. But I also don't separate I've been growing this hair for about 15 years now since I took my vow, and I barely ever have manipulated it. Does the IDF force soldiers to cut their hair? So if you're in mandatory service, yes, you must cut your hair. I, in mandatory service, had long side curls, so I had to shave my head, and I left the side curls. That was allowed. And when I was wearing gear, I tied them up here, and I put my helmet over the hair. So, but in reserve duty, I was in reserve duty for about 17 years or 18 years, something like between 16 and 18 years. And in reserve duty, I did not have to shave my hair. I did not have to cut my hair. I did have to keep it in such a way where it won't interfere with my duties, right? I'm a medic. Until I was discharged, that is, I was a medic. So if I was taking care of a patient or a wounded individual, I can't have the hair in my face or, touching whatever. So I used to put it back. I used to put it inside of my shirt, right? I used to tie it back and put it inside of my shirt and then put on my gear and my vest, right? My medic vest. So then it wouldn't be in the way of taking care of the wounded or the sick or whatever the case may be. So yes, but the IDF, if you're in mandatory service, they do force you to cut your hair. Women are allowed to have dreadlocks only if they are uniform dreadlocks, right? Meaning that you create them, not if you grow them. If you grow them wild and organic, natural, freeform Nazarite dreadlocks, as they're known, then that the army does not allow. Okay. Let's see, let's continue scrolling down in the chat. Scrolling down. Where was your grandfather born? My grandfather, both my grandfathers were born in the United States. Thank God for that. You look like a Zionist, unfortunately. Well, I am a Zionist Bourdieu fan. You look Semitic, bro, said Sid Life. Yes, indeed, I am. I am a Zionist and I'm Semitic. So yes, that would probably account for that. Christ is dead, says Diaper Dennis. Yes, some people say that, and I say that too. He is indeed dead. But that's just me. Many people say that he is alive and well. So, Thought criminal, why do Jewish people wear the side curls? Oh, I spoke of this in the last live stream. The side curls are an embellishment, right, of the commandment of not to shave off the corners of your head. So the Chassids, it's a Chassidish thing, the Chassids grow out their side hair and curl it up, or some curl it this way, some curl it that way, and some just let it grow wild. I had long side curls that I grew from scratch. When I was 17 or 18, I had long hair, I shaved my head, and I grew my side curls from scratch, and they were up to around here. Now, I never cut them, I never shaved them, I just let the hair grow around them, so technically I still have them. So they grow it as a what's called a din kodesh. They grow it as holy or sacred judgment, because the hair of the head, for the ones who are not Nazarites, represents judgment. The hair of the beard, right, represents giving and represents loving kindness. And so when you connect the hair that's here to the hair that's here, you have a sort of symbiotic thing, a harmonious meeting of left and right to form a middle pillar. So it's about harmony, it's about balance, and it's about the middle pillar. Let's put it that way. Let's go. Tenebris says, medic. Yes, I was a special operations combat medic in U.S. Army Special Forces. Well, yeah. I was a combat medic. I was in the field, and I was also in an infirmary during my mandatory service. So I call myself a field medic because I was a lot of times out in the field, but sometimes, for a lot of times, in my mandatory service, I was in a mini hospital, be it in the field or an actual building on base. I learned a lot. Thank God. I learned a lot from my time as a medic. Tenebris. Yeah, it's interesting being a medic, isn't it? Definitely interesting. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting for me. I learned a lot, like I said. Definitely learned a lot. Gaza reap what they sow, says Diaper Dennis. The leadership reaps what it sows, that's for sure. And unfortunately, it comes at the expense of people there who are actually innocent and who want no part of this conflict. What are you going to do? Sid Life says, do you think Palestine exists or not? Well, what do you mean? Palestine, there's no such nation or people as Palestinians, but there are people who lived here for hundreds of years before the establishment of the State of Israel, and they should continue to live here in peace, God willing. But as for a state of Palestine, there's no such thing, there's no such nation, there's no such people. They simply adopted an identity, right, in the 1960s primarily, but even a bit before that, as a countermeasure to the Jewish population that was here. But there is no such thing. There are people who claim they were here for hundreds of years, and then later when it was the British Mandate of Palestine, and far be it from me to judge and say, no, you weren't. Of course they were here. Of course people were here. All kinds of people from all walks of life, from all faiths and religions. But that doesn't make them a nation in and of themselves. It doesn't make them a people, especially when they say Palestine. There is no P in Arabic, so no. And it was the Romans who gave this place the name Syria Palestina to spite the Judeans, to spite the kingdom of Judah. So if they're going to say, yes, we are Roman colonialists, okay, then you're Palestinians, you're Roman colonialists. Congratulations. America First, good to see you again, man. People now know why it is important to pay attention to politics. Looks what the leaders of the U.S. are doing now. Well, again, politics, leadership, I know so little of it. And even what I know, I can't say that I know, because what do I know? Romans were honorable, Texas says. Indeed, the Hashmonai dynasty, right after the miracle of Hanukkah, when the people of Hashmonai took command and purified the temple and took on the kingship, they were actually in touch with the Romans, and they had a lot of good things in the book of Maccabees. It says how they really looked up to the Romans and to the fact that they have a senate and they had a pact with Rome. But over the course of the couple of hundred years of the Hashmonai dynasty, until the destruction of the temple at 70 of the Common Era, it went south, and then the people rebelled, and there was the first revolt, and the Bar Kokhba revolt, which failed, and the temple was destroyed, and the exile, to some degree, continues to this day. JP bringing it in with another super chat saying Psalms 22:16, the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. What do you think David meant when he said they ever pierce his hands and feet? So the hands and the feet, we are made in the image of God, right? The image of God meaning in the image of the tree of life. Just like the hair has meaning and the beard has meaning, the eyes and the nostrils and the ears have meaning, then the feet and the hands do have meaning, right? The 10 represent the 10 sfirot, and they correspond with the lower 10 toes of the feet, corresponding with an upper and a lower 10 sfirot, if you will, right? With, again, you have the left and you have the right and you have the middle pillar, right? Where you have the genitals, right? And you have the torso that connects the two. And you have the idea, right, of the feet being all the way down, holding up the body, the hands being able to rise up above the highest point. And there's a reason, right? Because your actions can speak louder than your intellect. And it's what you do, not what you think, that eventually counts. And there's a whole thing there. What does he mean when he said that they pierce his hands and his feet? I'm inclined to think that it might have been physical, but it was definitely spiritual, right? The Psalms have a spiritual origin. The different poets in the Psalms, they speak, right, in ways, in the tongues of men, if you will, but they have a spiritual origin. And everything that they speak of regarding the struggles of, let's say, a person against the wicked, and that they have encircled me, it could literally mean enemies are surrounding me, physical enemies, and it can also mean spiritual enemies, those that are coming against me spiritually. I just had a... Okay. So what did he mean? I'm inclined to think that he meant that literally and figuratively, physically and spiritually, right? Or, allegorically, metaphysically, however you want to look at it. The hands and the feet correspond with the way that we act in the world, right? The things that we do. The feet hold up the body. The hands act. The hands create. Now, it's not just the hands, obviously, it's the face, right, and the mind, the intellect that's within, that's buried in the skull and all that, sure. But the hands represent the actual de facto doing in reality. So to pierce the hands and to pierce the feet in some ways means to incapacitate them, right, to draw blood from them, and that's the life force. So it's as if to say, my enemies are siphoning the life force from me. My enemies are sapping my blood, my life force. They are piercing the things that hold me up. They are piercing the things that cause me to act in the world. They are trying to come against me. They are trying to sabotage my efforts. But you can look at it in different ways. That's off the top of my head what I would say. Okay. Shag says, I'm in Australia. Did you hear about the attack on Bondi? Of course I heard about the attack in Bondi Beach. Incidentally, two friends of mine who are from Sydney have a song, right? Have a song for Ahmed Al-Ahmed. Look it up on YouTube. Untitled Me says, the Maccabees were in southern Mesopotamia, not Israel, Palestine, Middle Eastern coastline, Hebrew Nazarite. So Untitled Me, what are you basing that on? I'm actually asking. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying, what are you basing that on? It's well known that the temple of Jerusalem was in this place that I'm here in now. Literally here in Jerusalem, not Mesopotamia. What is true is that Avraham, right, Abraham, who was Avram at the time, they say indeed came from Mesopotamia, and it's where Yitzchak went to, or not where he went to, but where the servant of Abraham went to, Ur Kasdim, as it's known, to find Isaac a bride. But the Maccabees were in southern Mesopotamia, not Israel. Please show me. I'm not saying you're wrong, but please show me. And if I miss you in the chat, tell me where in a comment, and I'll get back to you. Okay. Let's continue. Heading down in the chat. Telecom to cloud. Good to see you again. Trust in snake, never trust in Israel. So yes, you said that before. I'm wondering what you mean by that. I'm actually asking, what do you mean? Thought Criminal says, Nazarite, any thoughts on tefillin bearing likeness to black cube of Saturn symbolism? Thanks, man. So I don't know anything about Saturn, the deity, the titan, the god. I don't know anything about the symbolism of Saturn. But So I have no thoughts on the tefillin bearing likeness to the black cube. I have no idea. I do know that the tefillin we have nowadays are not necessarily the way that the tefillin used to look in days of yore, but I do know that as for the Nazarites, the Nazarite either does not wear tefillin at all, that's what I do, or not do, or they wear the tefillin all day, the way that people are supposed to. So that's what I know, but I don't know anything about Saturn or the symbolism of Saturn, nor the worship or customs of worshiping Saturn, so I have no idea. Unfortunately, I don't know. Evan is here. No disrespect intended. Is your hair long for religious reasons? Forgive my ignorance. Yes, I'm a Nazarite. Nazarites grow their hair long. You don't need to have long hair to be a Nazarite. You can be bald and take a Nazarite vow, and you're completely a Nazarite. If you do have hair, the Torah says, let it grow wild and free. So yeah, that's why. Bong says, much ahava, love, ahava. You are all wonderful people and enjoy these live streams, Baruch Hashem, as do I. I truly, truly enjoy these live streams. That's great, man. It's really great. Evan says, crazy, hateful chat, bro. You're just spreading the good word. And, haters gonna hate, spammers gonna spam. I take it in stride as much as I can. I have deep and passionate love for the hell and demons since I was a child, says Bach Fox. Okay, good for you. I'm curious what has that brought you in reality? If you're saying that you have a passionate love for hell and demons, well, the Jews have no hell, but I'm assuming you mean like the Christian hell? And demons, there is some sort of a demonic thing how do you mean? What do you mean, Box Fox, when you say hell and demons? I'm curious. Praise Tucker, praise Candace, says Trailer Guy. So yeah, from what I've gathered, Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, I'm assuming that's who you mean, went completely, with this anti-Israel thing. And, I don't blame them. I just don't quite know where they're coming from. But okay. Thought Criminal says, great answer, thanks, buddy. Well, my answer was no answer at all, because I don't know anything about Saturn. Nazarite, what about astrology? So there is Hebrew astrology, a kosher, if you will, astrology, that has its roots primarily in Sefer Yetzirah, which is a Kabbalistic text. And like I said in the beginning of this live stream, you can set some stock by the star chart and the heavens, but not so much that it goes against free will. Free will is paramount. Your choices and the way that you behave, the words that you speak, the actions that you carry out, this is what actually makes a difference, not the stars, not the planets, not the heavens. No, it's you. You are above all of those things. You have free will. You have choice to act, to not act, to discern. And that is what it is about. But astrology, indeed, does play a part in the makeup of the individual, if you will, spiritually speaking. Because the planets and the stars and the arrangement and the alignment and all of that, they do have some sort of an influence. But it's you who decide to give them that power and to say, oh, my star chart when I was born is X, that means I need to do Y. It's like, no, not necessarily. You go with what you want to do. Don't let the stars dictate what you ought to do. That is not the Hebrew way of going about things. But if you do want to go and have a Kabbalist, let's say, use kosher Hebrew astrology and map out the star chart, if you will, when you were born, down to the second, if you can do it, then by all means do that, but don't let it come at the expense of your own free will. Because that's you simply putting the responsibility on the heavens. And that's not the way to go, at least not according to the Torah. America First says, apparently Tenebris Sint thinks they have 100% monopoly on truth, just like Netanyahu thinks the Iron Dome is perfect, lol. Well, the Iron Dome and the David Sling, and a Patriot missile, for that matter, are not perfect by any means, and they do occasionally misfire and miss the missile that they are going to intercept. So that actually, in reality, is not true. They do have a wonderful 90-something% accuracy rate, which is bonkers, but I don't think anybody has a 100% monopoly on the truth, also because I don't speak in absolutes. I don't go for absolutes, right? The only absolute is the Most High God, and I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. Joey Buttawipo, do you prefer bong or bubbler? Well, I don't know what bubbler is, and I haven't smoked a bong in about almost 30 years, I think. I was always a joint man, not a bong man. Too much, for the lungs. My lungs couldn't take it. No, my lungs couldn't take it. OMG, laser on your chest. Yeah, that's one of my kids. He's got a laser. Someone gave him a laser pointer after Shabbos.
Yeah, here, a laser pointer.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Here you go. Here you go.
Kabbalah guys, demonic worship, said Sid Life. No. Kabbalah is not demonic worship by any means. Kosher Kabbalah. I can't speak for other types of Kabbalah. Kosher Kabbalah is simply the study of the tree of life, right? The study of the 10 Sfirot, the study of the relationship between humankind and creation and the Creator. That's all that it is. Right? And if you go for the Torah and the commandments, the way in which we behave and the commandments that we carry out, organizing your body and your mind and aligning them in order to bring about the unity of the masculine and feminine divine presence. That's what that is. But people make such a big deal and say that it's demon worship and all that. It's like, yeah, maybe there's that side to it, but that's not kosher Kabbalah. Maybe that's demonic Kabbalah. There are all kinds of different types of Kabbalah. But kosher Kabbalah is nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. At least in my experience. And removing that comment you made towards me confirms that you realize this too. It's okay, I'm not mad at you, I just don't understand you. I'm assuming that Craig is speaking to someone else in the chat, because I